Like, is it better to remain in a city or town or neighborhood which isn't the best, but there are many Muslims, versus going to a neighborhood which is calm, peaceful, safe, but there aren't too many Muslims? Now, I think that's a matter of choice and preference. Rock and a hard place. I'm in a neighborhood, it's kind of rough, but there are plenty of Muslims. There are countless advantages behind that. Your child not feeling ostracized or, you know, sticking out, masjids, halal, there's so many different advantages. Versus you being in the middle of somewhere in which is calm, it's peaceful, you have a bunch of land, but you're the only Muslim or you're a few Muslims. People look at you weird. Hearing the adhan is weird. You have to drive miles just to get halal meat. You have to, pray to. You got to pick and choose. What I would say, and Allah knows best, if you're going to stay in a rough neighborhood in which there are many Muslims, make sure that you educate your children properly and you warn your children. And make sure that you're there for your children and make sure you give your children as much time and love and affection as you possibly can for them not to get caught up in those things. And make sure that you're active in giving dawah to the non-Muslims in that neighborhood. And make sure that you teach the Muslims, your followers, or whoever you're around to be straight and clean and distinguished from the non-Muslims. Muslims have nothing to do with drugs. We have nothing to do with prostitutes. We have nothing to do with drugs. We have nothing to do with that. You see a Muslim walking on the street, it has nothing to do with that. And if someone is dipping and dabbing, we don't condone that. And let it be known, let it be clear. And obviously when the lines are blurred, things become very dangerous for Muslim and non-Muslim alike. And if you're out in the middle of nowhere with the non-Muslims, make sure that you give them dawah. Make sure that you have the proper knowledge. Make sure you have a strong Islamic personality. And make sure you teach your children they are not to take the Jews and the Christians as friends. They're not to take the mushrikun as friends and buddies. They're not to take them as companions and protectors. And make sure that you have a strong Islamic identity and personality. You represent Islam through your character, right? And obviously try your best to establish Islam there as well. And there's always going to be that dynamic, inner city versus the suburbs. Inner city has this, has that, but it's living, it's alive. Versus you're in the middle of the boondocks, the sticks, in which, you have your yard, your lawn, this and that is safe, but where are the Muslims there? And the Muslims are there, very weak. And unfortunately, you go to many cities, the reality is to be said, you can have your beautiful, pretty mosque, but you aren't to give dawah. That's well established. No one's going to bother you in your mosque, Ramadan, your minaret, but the adhan has to remain in the building. And you aren't to give dawah to Timmy and Chris and Karen. No. The moment you start engaging the community with dawah, especially the youth, it's going to be a big problem. But you live in an inner urban city, there's hustle bustle, concrete jungle. They don't mind you giving dawah. You pass out pamphlets, you make the adhan. That's not a problem. It's not an issue. So you have to pick your poison. You have to what? You have to pick your poison. And I don't think anyone is going to be able to reject the reality of that. And many of our brothers have made that deal. They've sold out on dawah. They've relinquished their right to give dawah for their comfortable, nice, pretty, plot of land. That's a fact. In many, one may say most of those types of communities. So, you want to see how much freedom you have? Give dawah to the locals. And then you'll see the cop cars, you'll see the people what? You'll see how things will change. No more mind you being there, it's a public place. Timmy and Fulan, they can walk in the mosque, no problem. But you engaging them? It's a whole different story. So that's the deal. That's the price you pay for that comfortable lifestyle, is you keep your mouth shut. Almost time. And the other price you pay living in an urban city, your son may get caught up in violence. Or he may be the victim of violence, walking to the store. You gotta pick your poison. Allahu A'lam. That's a long discussion that needs to be had. How we have betrayed the dawah to Islam, unfortunately. May Allah help us all.